Welcome to the Flying Circus. We're going to start the show a little early today because of the weather problems that may or may not show up. But I'm glad you're all here today. And what's happening is down there by the hangar, you see the silver and black airplane. That's our wing walking airplane and our jumper airplane. And they're warming up the airplane right now. Jim Surefight, he's going to do the jump for us today. And Tim Bridges is flying the airplane. And they're getting warmed up and ready to go, and that'll be our first thing we do today. While we're waiting for that to happen, I will tell you a little bit about these airplanes. These airplanes are called tail draggers because they have a wheel in the back of the airplane near the tail, and they're all airplanes have a tricycle gear, but this is called a tail dragger because the tail drags. The engine is the heaviest part on these airplanes, and the main wheels go under the heaviest part of all airplanes because that's where most of the weight is. Now on a big airliner, you look at the main wheels and they're under the wings. Well, you think, well, the wings aren't that heavy, but they are. That's where they carry all their fuel. So that's why the main gear are under the wings on a big airliner. Now on these airplanes, like I said, the main wheels are under the engine and the pilot sits in the back seat. Because of weight and balance purposes. The engine's so heavy, you got to have extra weight in the back of the airplane, and that's why the pilot sits in the back. Now, there's two different types of airplanes here, believe it or not. Steerman airplane, and there's a Waco. Number 8's the Waco, and the main difference in the Waco is you can carry two people up front, and they have ailerons on the top wing and on the bottom wing, and they're controlled by that little tube. They all move at the same time. The ailerons give you control of the airplane. I had a young man ask me, well, how do you steer the airplane? The tires don't turn. I said, no, the tires don't turn. They just go straight around. Well, you steer the airplane with the ailerons, and that's what these are right here. And if you notice, one goes up, one goes down, the other one goes up. They turn left and right. They also use the rudder. The rudder is like adding power steering to turning the airplane. You can turn the airplane with the ailerons, but when you kick the rudder in, it really makes a difference. It looks like they're getting ready to start, so we'll stop that part. And you'll notice when these airplanes turn, they spin on a dime. The right brake is stopped. That tire doesn't move and everything else moves around. That's how they maneuver it around pretty good. Well, maybe they're not quite ready. But all these airplanes have the fuel on the top wing. They hold about 42 gallons. They're all gravity-filled airplanes, like an old car or your lawnmower. So during the acrobatic portion, you might hear the engine sputter. Well, he's been upside down too long. Not a good thing. But they're all very safe airplanes. They're all antique airplanes. These airplanes were built in the 1940s to teach your grandfather and your fathers how to fly in the military. And they are just, really, really fabulous airplanes to fly. They're all real. At the end of the show, we're going to ask everybody, if weather permitting and everything, to come out and look at the airplanes. We ask you not to touch the airplanes because they can break real easy and they're expensive to fix. So these are antiques. The engines will be hot at the end of the show, so you don't want to touch the engine and you don't want to touch the airplane at all. You can tell the wings are hollow and they're stretched on. Listen to this. It's a very tight fabric. So if you had to touch that or put your foot in there, you'd put a hole in it real easy. The wings are made out of spruce wood, and spruce is a very light wood, but it's a very strong wood too. That's why they use it instead of oak. Oak you'd probably never get off the ground. Now the wing walking airplane's going down to the end of the runway, slowly, but that's what's going on. He's getting down there. They'll turn around, and if you see all these flags out here, they're just not for decoration. That's for the pilots to tell which way the wind is blowing. Now, these airplanes and all airplanes take off and land into the wind. These airplanes take off at 55 miles an hour. Now, I bet just about every one of you coming over here had gone 55 miles an hour on the way over. So just think about that. If you had wings on your car, you could have flown here. How about that? All right, there's a 450, the wing walking airplane and the jump airplane. We call it the 450 because the engine has 450 horsepower. It's a screamer, and you'll hear that in a minute. We also have a really cool thing on the airplanes. It's called aircraft smoke, show smoke. And what it is there's a little tank in the airplane, and they run a line down to the hot exhaust, and they flip a switch, and this lightweight oil goes on the hot exhaust, and it makes smoke, show smoke. It looks really cool. You might just see it. All right, here goes.
Okay, here we go. Make a video. I'll be quiet.
Airplane. The tail come off the ground, and at 55 miles an hour, the main wheels lifted off. How about that, folks? Is that amazing? Now he's going to climb up to 3,500 feet, so it takes a little while for that to get